Welcome, everybody, to episode number 8 of the podcast. We got a lot of recent DDO stuff to talk about. We got a couple folks here to chat with us, so I'm just going to go through and have them do introductions first. Nomad, you want to start?
Sure thing. Nomad Dog. I am a part-time DDO streamer and occasional random YouTube uploader. Most recent video I did was an interview with Tolero on the history of Night Revels and Maybar. So if you get a chance, you can always check that out on my YouTube channel, which I'm sure Axel will link in the description. But looking forward to the discussion. A lot of stuff has happened since the last podcast, so should be good time.
Yep. Troy?
Yep, I'm Troy with Tavern Tales. I stream on, guess what, Tavern Tales. Me and my co-host, formerly world's cutest puppy, now just Tink the Diva. I stream on my channel on Sunday, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays, and then on DDO stream we do trivia on Tuesday evenings. And glad to be here.
All right, guys. So the first thing I want to talk about is Cormyr. So for anyone listening on YouTube or Twitch, there is a 64-bit server coming to DDO. It's actually going to be released permanently this Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, to everyone. It's actually at 1 p.m. Eastern is when it opens, and it's 64-bit, so it's an upgrade from the current 32-bit server. So basically that means more information can be processed, better performance, less lag, things like that. So for now, the server is VIP only. Now, they've been a little vague on this. We don't know really, we really don't know the whens and the hows and the whats, but the long-term plan from SSG is to eventually make it open to everyone once they can work out some things like how to transfer like guild ships and astral shard balances and all that stuff. But that's the plan eventually. But for now, it is VIP only. And it is new characters only, so you cannot transfer to or from Cormyr yet. They probably are going to get transfers. From what Cordovan is saying, they're probably going to get transfers from Cormyr to the 32-bit worlds up at some point in the somewhat near future, but the transfers to Cormyr from 32-bit worlds are probably not going to have ready to go for a while, I would guess. Okay, as far as the server goes, have either of you guys played on it during the previews? Because they've done, what, 3 previews, I think, for Cormyr?
Yeah, I got
the first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got to play last Thursday. That was the first time I got a chance to play on it. So it had already gone through a couple previews, and had done some stuff. But I was testing out the crossbow stuff, and as well as the doing the lanterns event. So yeah, I had a little bit of time to play on it.
Yeah, that's one thing we'll definitely. I added that yesterday actually to the show notes here. We'll definitely talk about the crossbow changes a little bit at the end. Troy, did you get a chance to play?
I played on the very first one when we first stress tested the 64-bit server, which was fun. I mean, it was kind of fun to be purposely trying to cause lag for a while instead of trying to avoid it. That was an odd, kind of a dichotomy of DDO. But yeah, I played on it, and of course, as I've said on my show many times, I'm an IT guy at heart. So so I'm, there's nothing but good that should come from the 64-bit servers. But
yeah, I played on the first preview, and then on the second, this most recent one from the past week, I did not have a chance to jump on. But the first preview was really fun. Basically, for anyone who didn't jump on during the first preview, the goal of that preview was to just strain the server as much as possible because the devs wanted to see what it could take. So during that time, Crystal Cove was going. They had like way too many players in one instance of Crystal Cove. They were spawning just all kinds of stuff, monsters and raid bosses and all kinds of stuff just to try to overload the server and see how bad it could get. And it seemed to take it pretty well. We can't really say what the impact will be until we can play on that server for a longer period of time. But it seems like it's going to be better in terms of lag, and it certainly was successful on Lotro from what people are telling me. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I'll play on there immediately, but I'm really looking forward to eventually when they get the character transfers from the 32-bit worlds worked out. Very much looking forward to that because it could also work sort of as a player consolidation mechanism too, not just an upgrade. Because hopefully, if there's 2 or 3 64-bit servers, we can all jump over there together, and we can actually play with some people that we've never gotten to play with because we've been on separated on different servers. So, are you guys planning on playing there when it launches this week?
I that's my plan. I'm treating it as a hardcore server. Is
Mm-hmm.
how I'm gonna be approaching it. So I'll be over there on Wednesday, rolling up a tune and primarily just focusing on the hardcore aspect of the Lanterns event. That's my plan, anyways. I'm not gonna go over there and just start playing all the time, because I 15 years of progress on Cannith is kind of hard to step away from and just start over.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we can't just give up our old characters. I don't think very few people. Some people are, but very few people are willing to do that. So, I'm really looking forward to when we can actually transfer over. They have introduced this new Lantern event. I think partially to entice people to go over there because it is only available on Cormyr. So, do you guys have anything else to say in general on the Cormyr server before we get into the Lantern event?
No, just my thing is just generally. I mean, I kind of goes back to the player transfers. I was one. My guild was one of those of I guess many from the Great Exodus or into Orion when we had the server transfers. So we moved from Galanda to there. So I'm well familiar with the problems with transferring your guild from server to server. I mean, having to rebuild a guild ship is painful. I'm looking forward to them to get that work out because I'm going to send my Galanda guild ship over to the new servers. Then I'm going to move my people over to join that new to join my old ship. But yeah, I mean the monster manual's broken when you transfer. That's a huge thing. The don't get your shared bank. All your mounts went away. It was painful. Your shards don't transfer. That's another big thing too. Because if you spent real money, you're stuck. So I'm looking forward to that getting resolved as much as I'm looking forward to the 64-bit servers getting some love moving forward.
Yeah, I mean it's huge news for DDO. It's no secret that lag is definitely the biggest concern for I would say definitely for the population, at least the most vocal concern that players, things that players talk about. But yeah, it's been an issue, and I really hope this has the potential to change the game in a lot of ways, not just because of lag, but also for player consolidation. So, it's kudos to the devs for doing this, and it's very much needed, and I'm really looking forward to what potential DDO has with these new servers. So,
Yeah, one of the interesting things. So I was actually Sev did a late night talk on the community or the official Discord last night. Like he was up until like 2 a.m. his time. So he was talking a little bit about some of the stuff that they're considering. Um, he says that the server should be able to hold about 2,000 people on each of the servers once they get them up and running. But there's no definite plan on how they're going to do the transfers. Are they going to, allow from what he said, there's no plan on converting the current 32-bit servers to 64-bit, or trying to server merge two of the existing 32-bit servers into a new 64-bit server. Primarily because he says the issues you run into is all the information on the databases and all of the character data that you have from people who have not played the game for like a decade would cause issues when you try to like smash the databases together. And so that's why they're looking at doing the actual just transfer to the 64-bit server as opposed to moving the entire 32-bit server to a 64-bit server, or merging some of the current servers together. So I thought that was an interesting thing, just because it's technical stuff that could cause issues that I don't even want to imagine down the line.
Yeah, I was just looking, on DDO audit on a peak time, Oregon has 385 people. So if you figure adding 2,000 per server without pushing the limits too much, that's quite a consolidation. I mean, we can get nearly every DDO player right now onto one server.
Yeah, and I wonder how many servers they'll create because there's going to be more 64-bit servers. We don't know how many.
Right.
But I mean, what do you guys think? 2 or 3? I guess they haven't really said,
Yeah,
but
I
it'll be a
think
few.
I think two or three. I think one of them may be Cormyr at some point, and then I think they'll add one or two more on top of that.
I would almost expect Cormyr to remain kind of the lantern server, and that there'd be like generic servers that we'd have one or two more that would come beyond that, but probably two would be my guess. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's however far in the future it is. So.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So I guess we can get into the Lantern event now, which is the big draw for Cormyr right now. So for anyone who's not aware of how it works, here's just a quick rundown of how the event works. It is Cormyr only. So to do the Lantern event, you do have to play on Cormyr. The event begins by playing a short story dungeon, which is in the Hall of Heroes. It is a free level 1 solo quest. It's designed to be played by characters of any level, though, because you don't actually fight any monsters in the quest. But there is mechanic in there where you dodge a Baylor. Have you guys played the free play quest? What do you guys think of it?
The story is really, I think the story is really interesting, and I'm looking forward to see, because they've mentioned that it's going to lead into further content probably next year. And so I think the story itself is interesting, explaining some of the mists type of stuff, how people can move through it. Um, and I get it's a level 1 story dungeon. I went in not knowing what to expect. I thought I'm going to have to fight something, because all of our other introductory quests that we've had for like expansions and stuff, you always had to kill stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm on this level 33 and I'm just kind of sneaking past this Baylor. It was uninspiring gameplay, but the story was good. I guess that's the easiest way to describe it for me.
Yeah, and as far as I understand it, I mean, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can, once you play it on one character, you don't have to play it on other characters. So it is a one and done type thing for this event, at least for this time around. But it is I heard mixed feedback on it. I mean, I think the sneaking mechanic is cool, but maybe don't put it there, like in a regular quest maybe, but I think for this one it maybe is a little long, because I think most players, I mean, the story's cool and I appreciate that, and it leads into content which is coming later this year and probably leads into whatever mini expansion we get next year, I would guess. But and that's cool, but I think a lot of players are going to want to just grab their lanterns and go. And it does require you to spend, I don't know, 5-10 minutes to run through that quest before you can actually start playing the event. So yeah, mixed opinions for me. Cool, but maybe that wasn't the place for the sneak mechanic.
Yeah,
And
no,
yet,
I didn't play it. My feeling of it is, and again, this is just me. There's nothing really there I'm interested in except for the mount. So I'm probably going to grab my Skull Lantern or the Seeker, play it like hardcore. When I get my mount, I'm out of there and probably not back until they add something new in
yeah.
the
So
future.
let's move on. So after you play the solo dungeon, you move on to the next to actually start the event. After you play that short story dungeon, you're going to be able to talk to 2 NPCs in the Hall of Heroes, and you can pick from a variety of lanterns from these NPC. So what lanterns are, they are magical items which go into your cosmetic shield slot. This did change when they originally started the previews. It was your, what was it, your trinket slot, but now it's going to be your cosmetic shield slot, which is huge. Thank you, SSG. That's a big improvement, because it really sucked for that to take up a gear slot. But anyway, so it's going to be your cosmetic shield slot. So you put that in your cosmetic shield slot, and this allows you to spawn Mistwalkers as you go through the quests. So there are 2 sets of 5 lanterns. There's normal lanterns, and then there's the hardcore like lanterns. As you kill those Miststalkers that the lanterns spawn, and they only spawn if you have it equipped in your cosmetic shield slot, your durability on that lantern, which starts at 1, will increase for every Miststalker you kill. And once it fills up, you can turn that lantern in for a cosmetic reward, and the rewards are different for each lantern. So the durability bar on the lantern was used kind of as an XP bar in this case, or a progress bar, which is pretty interesting. I mean, that's a creative way to do that. It's a good idea. So let's get to the lanterns, though. The lanterns, like I said, there's 5 hardcore, 5 regular, and okay, let's start with the regular. So the regular lanterns are a little different in a couple ways. So the regular lanterns are bound to character and can be put in your character bank, but not in your shared bank. You can't trade them, auction them, or mail them. And here are the 5 regular lanterns. There's Lantern of the Pledge, which is described as easy to fill. The reward is a cosmetic cloak. Lantern of the Order is long to fill. This one's interesting because it only advances on Reaper difficulty. And the reward is a different cloak cosmetic, which is cosmetic full cloak of the Order of the Guardian. Lantern of the Shield, medium length to fill. The reward is a cosmetic shield of the Order. Lantern of the Seeker, very long to fill. And this is the big reward that I think most players are going to want. The reward for this one is a Miststalker Sabertooth Tiger Mount. And then the last one is Lantern of the Keepers, which is a medium length to fill. And the reward is a Magical Lantern Cosmetic Pet. So are you guys going to be using the regular lanterns or the hardcore ones when you go over there?
More than likely, I'll be doing the hardcore ones. Like I said,
Same.
it's going to be like a hardcore server for me, place to go do something different, and so that's and the difference is all the cosmetics for the hardcore stuff have the skull badging on it, as opposed to just the regular stuff. So that's like the big difference between the cosmetics, from my understanding.
Yeah, Cordova did show them off on the stream, and yeah, it's basically you get a skull stamp on the hardcore one, and the regular one doesn't have that. So they're extremely similar. But do you guys have anything else you want to say on the regular lanterns before I get into the hardcore ones and how they vary? Okay.
No, I have, and part of this just has to do, I guess, the desire to want to play on the higher difficulty. I don't care about the non-hardcore ones. To me, I mean, that's just me, and that's kind of the feedback I've been hearing from some of my viewers in chat too. Is hardcore is the way it's going to go. So
I do wish they would have made them a little more enticing for the hardcore ones. Maybe do a little more than just put it was just a glimpse of Cordovan stream, so y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's literally just a skull stamped on there. It would have been cool if it was more. They made it look a little cooler than that for the Reaper ones, or for the not the Reaper ones, for the hardcore like ones. But getting into the hardcore lanterns though, so there's 5 which are very similar to the other lanterns, same rewards except you get that hardcore skull stamp on that. So the difference between the hardcore ones and the regular ones is the skull lanterns is what the hardcore like ones are called. The skull lanterns are destroyed on player death, regardless if they are equipped or not. So if they're in your inventory or equipped at all, they are destroyed. So it does have that hardcore like element. So you have to get to that goal of that lantern without dying. The skull lanterns can only be acquired at level 1. If you play an iconic, you can go get one if you forgo your training, but your XP will be set to level 1, rank 1. And apparently, I don't know how this works, but they noted there that true reincarnating to level 1 with an iconic works too. I don't know the details of that. But other differences, the skull lanterns cannot be banked at all. So the regular lanterns could be put in your character bank. The skull lanterns cannot be banked at all. They have to be in your inventory or equipped. And then the other difference is the skull lanterns are turned in for the skull badge versions of the rewards that we talked about. So any thoughts on the hardcore lanterns, guys?
No, I just, in terms of mechanics wise, I'm sure we'll probably get more into the mechanics, but someone mentioned something interesting, that we can only level up 1 lantern at a time. Whereas on hardcore, we have been able to achieve leveling, favor, and Reaper XP, or Reaper points, all at the same time, as opposed to having to do one thing at a time. So it'll be interesting to see how the progress is going to be with regards to because they're trying to emulate the hardcore feel in terms of the length of time for progress. So it'll be interesting to see how that actually plays out. Because I might just do one lantern, like Troy. I'm kind of on the let's get the Sabertooth mount bandwagon right now, and that might just be the one that I grind out and not really worry about the other ones.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. You can only really work on one reward at a time, and we don't have specifics in terms of how long these take. I'm sure we'll figure that out very quick. But we got just we didn't get a lot of details. I mean, it just says easy to fill, medium length to fill. But what does medium length mean? What does easy to fill mean? We don't really know.
So when I did it on Thursday, I just took the regular lantern of the pledge, because I was on a level 33 tune and I was working on leveling it up. Tolero had put in a 500% increase in the amount of stuff that filled the bar. So if it was like normally a 1 point seeker or 1 point mist stalker, you'd get 5 points instead, type of thing. And so in the 4 hours I played, I think I went from 1 to 176, and that was with a 500% bonus, and it's got a hardness of 750.
Oh, okay.
For the easy to fill one. I am sure it's much more for the others, but that was with a 500% bonus going, and it was 3 hours of mostly running night revels. And occasionally, and it's random because it depends. You might not get a stalker in your quest,
Yeah,
and you only get one.
I noticed that when when I went on there and I did play for a few hours with the same lantern. I just got Lantern of the Pledge. I just rolled up a level 1 and I just played through. I played some Korthos. I played some Borderlands, and they are those are short quests, but I wasn't getting any stalkers really unless I intentionally stood and waited, in the quest for them. But yeah, that's a concern I had, because there's a lot of short quests in the game that you can complete in, say, 5 minutes or less. And I don't know what the spawn timer is exactly, but if you're a really Zergy player, it's going to be possible to just run through quests and not see one. But that's probably something they can adjust on the fly, as well as the rewards you get from killing the stalkers if they need to. I'm sure they can adjust that on the fly if they see that it's not quite working out. So I think they'll handle that. I think the Lantern of the Order, that's really interesting, because they actually had one that advances only on Reaper difficulty, which is pretty cool. Especially if you get the Skull Badge version of that. That's going to be the ultimate, like, oh man,
Yeah.
I'm an awesome player, show off type thing. So that's cool. I've said this before, but I think it would have been cool to have like a short traditional hardcore season that maybe was, I don't know about Reaper only, but maybe like Elite and Reaper only or something. But that's a cool idea. I think I'm glad they're doing that. So, what do you guys think of the? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the mechanics for this event are I really like the mechanics. The fact that the lantern shows up when the mist stalker is about to appear, and you get this like little countdown saying they're nearby, is pretty cool. And I really think that if this was the gimmick for an actual hardcore season, it would be an interesting hardcore season. But I'm kind of on the fence on how exactly it's gonna work as it's structured currently.
Yeah, I don't know, because how enticing it'll be to the group of the player base that really likes hardcore. Because the thing with like these hardcore type games, and the bigger the penalty for dying, the more satisfying it is to get to achieve what you're trying to achieve. And with this event, they've kind of made it so you don't really get much of a benefit from engaging in the hardcore aspect of it. I mean, you get the little skull stamp, but I don't know if there's enough there to really make players feel special about it. And the regular lanterns are basically, they're not, it's basically just play the game and you'll get them eventually. So I don't know. We'll see how players warm up to it. I see what they're trying to do here. They're trying to do a compromise on the server. They want players to be able to play together. I mean, SSG has a tough situation here, because every time they do the traditional hardcore seasons, it drains the servers, and they've talked about that. And the reason they're designing this the way they are is to try to have a compromise between, okay, we want to give the players who really like hardcore that experience, but at the same time, we want to make it so it's accessible to more players, and that you can play with players who are not participating in the event. That way, going forward, we don't have to drain the servers when we do a hardcore event. So it's an attempt at a compromise. So we'll see how the player base responds. It certainly has some pros, some cons, but we'll see what happens.
Of course, I don't know how much, raw dollars this section of people I want to talk to actually contributes to SSG, but there is a large population, larger than I knew of, that only play hardcore. They don't play the regular servers anymore. They show up when there's hardcore season and pop on the hardcore servers and then go away. And with this being only VIP, I wonder how much of those crowd we're actually going to draw. So I mean, I don't know how. I'd be curious to see what the actual populations are on this server. Hopefully they're able to track something on, the estimates on DDO audit, but
yeah,
we'll see. I just don't know how as a substitute for hardcore this is going to work. I think it's going to work better as a, just a new type of event that you could participate in. And
yeah,
sure, because I'm like Nomad said, I like the mechanics of the way the lanterns work. I just try to compare it to hardcore, and I'm going to treat it like you said. I'm going to treat it like hardcore, but I'm not sure the hardcore people are going to come back in droves for this event, especially being VIP only for the server. So we'll see.
I think one thing that could have helped. Yeah, go ahead, Nomad.
You're still separating players out,
Yeah.
right? Because it would be great if I could do something with my guildies and not have to move everybody to a new server, do the event, and then come back. If it was live on the regular servers, that would be great. It would be something different.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the reason why they're doing it. But I think, and like Troy was saying, with VIP only, you still, again, separate people out, because I have guildies who are not VIP and they don't want to be VIP and they can't do the event. That's, another thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I just now thought about too is that part of the reason why the population went in droves to hardcore was you had a limited time period too, and most of the population, and it was easier to get your goods if you were there at the earlier part of the season because there's more players, more opportunities to group, which kind of goes down as the season goes on. With this being a permanent type situation, I'm kind of curious how that dynamic will change, because now I could before with hardcore I rarely played on the live servers when hardcore was up. Now I'll probably pop over here and play here one night, do my server the other night, just kind of go back and forth, but we'll see how that rolls.
They have said that the event will have some kind of limited duration, but they have not said what that duration is.
Right.
So we don't know. I mean, it could be 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. We have no idea. I can't imagine it would be only a month or two. I would have to imagine. Yeah, go ahead.
Tolero has said that the plan for the event is for it to be at least as long as a typical hardcore season, but probably a little bit longer. But that is the plan, is at least as long as a typical hardcore season, but more than likely it'll be a little bit longer than that.
Yeah, and I wouldn't think they would say it'll be gone, next Wednesday it'll be gone. I would imagine you'll get a 2-week, 30-day notice to be able to work on those rewards. But
about the server being VIP only, it is VIP only right now. As far as I understand it, the plan is to make it open to everyone eventually, but we don't have any specifics as to when that is. And I think with making this VIP only, it's a couple things. I mean, obviously that it does make it VIP more attractive, so you have to be VIP if you want to participate in the event. But I think the main reason they're doing this is not really to monetize VIP. It's more to limit the server's population, because they don't want the new 64-bit server to get overloaded, because if you open it to everyone, that might happen. And they want to make sure that the server can competently handle a smaller amount of players over a long-term period, and then open up once it's proven itself. So that seems to be the main reason they're keeping it VIP only for now.
Yeah. And my only comment with that was, I don't know, those hardcore players that aren't VIP, I have no idea how much revenue they produce. They may be zero or it may be quite a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was when I was talking about revenue. That was the only thing I was concerned about is if those players aren't back in the same numbers they were, what does that mean to SSG? I don't know.
Well, yeah, we don't know. I mean, SSG is a private
Right.
company. They don't show that information
Well,
to
they're
us.
public.
Because of the Daybreak acquisition and
Right.
the EG7. Oh, are they technically public? Well, they don't. There is some information that EG7 releases in their reports,
Yeah.
but not.
Oh,
It's
yeah, they've
very
got to
little.
release everything.
It's very little,
Yeah.
and it's very.
But they do
general.
have to release things like from formerly working for a public company, they have to release all their, security breaches and all those sorts of things, which has been an interesting read, not from DDO, but from some of the other organizations. So,
Okay. When well, in any case, what I was trying to say is we don't know really
Right.
how successful they've been. You can look at their actions in the past, and when they were pumping out hardcore seasons 2 or 3 times a year when it initially started, and they really continued that until this year, which is the year of the dragon, where they stopped it. But it seemed like, at least at first, it was fine. You would guess that it was financially successful based on the amount of time they spent on it and the amount of seasons we had. You'd have to
Right.
think so. I don't know if that. I would guess also, and this is just speculation, that it trailed off, because if it didn't trail off, then why would they have not had any hardcore seasons this year, for Year of the Dragon? So, but that's just speculation. But yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good speculation. Businesses aren't in business to lose money for the most part. So.
Yeah. I'm sure if it was still a big cash cow, they probably would have done a season or two this year. So, all right. Well, other Lantern information, there's a few other things that was discussed here on the Lamania forums. So the amount of Lantern progress rewarded for killing a Miststalker is relative to the quest difficulty and the type of Miststalker that spawns. Is a little RNG. It's not just the same Miststalker every time. There are different ones that have different amounts of XP. So there'll presumably be different XP on Elite versus Hard as well. I did go into some quests on Elite, some in Hard, and it is a big difference in terms of how challenging the Miststalker is, at least. They also have a 3-level cap, so no progress will be made on your lanterns if the character's level is 3 levels above the dungeon's base level, that's pretty lenient. I mean, most people level 2 levels above anyway in Heroic to get the delving bonus. I guess in Epics, you'll have to maybe level a little bit lower. You have to run a little bit closer to quest level, because a lot of people run 4 levels over in Epics because the delving bonus changes to 4 levels over in Epics. But in any case, 3 levels I thought was pretty lenient. They fluctuated in hardcore seasons between 2 and 4 and that's a reasonable level. Miststalkers only attack someone if someone in the party has a lantern equipped, and they only attack a player's group once per quest. And we talked about this before, but if you're running really short quests, they may be rare and not spawn at all. So you can play with people who are not participating in the event, but you will have to deal with the Miststalkers. So I wonder how many LFMs we'll see that says no lantern, running, I don't know, Sword Dusk Elite, no lanterns, please.
I was planning on, when I do my my LFMs, just put hardcore lantern run.
Yeah, there'll probably be some communication. I don't imagine most players that are leveling will care, that are not participating in the event will really care if someone is spawning those Miststalkers or not. What do you think, Troy?
I don't know who would go to Cormyr and not expect there to be lanterns. I mean, that's kind of the whole purpose of the server at this point in time. So, I mean, if somebody goes there and says, "Oh, no lanterns," I think they're going to be a very minute part of the population if they exist at all.
I agree. I think it's going to be a small number of players, but not very many. I wouldn't be too concerned about it splitting the population, or the players dividing, you taking it upon themselves to divide the population like that. Let's see.
Let me talk a little bit about spawn rate real quick. So on Thursday when I was over there, I got my lantern, and then I'm like, okay, let's go do some Barovia quests. It's mists, why not? So I did Death House, No Stalker. Then I did Fresh Baked Dreams. As soon as I got done with taking care of the peasants, getting ready to cross the bridge to go kill wolves, a Miststalker appeared. So it showed up fairly quickly, probably within the first 3 minutes of the quest. And then from there, I did mostly a bunch of Night Revels runs. And as I was doing Night Revels runs, when I did Getting Ahead in Lord's March Plaza, the Mist Stalker did not spawn until after I had killed the end boss, but there were still zombies alive, right? So I actually had the completed tag, but the Mist Stalker still spawned after I had the quest, quote unquote, completed. So I don't know if that was because there were still mobs that were alive or what. So the spawn rate, it was interesting, and most of the quests I did have a stalker spawn. I think out of the nine or 10 uh, Night Rebels quests I did, I think there were 2 that a Mist Stalker did not spawn. So it seemed it was frequent, but it'll be interesting to see what exactly the amount you get, because that 500% bonus kind of throws off my numbers when I'm trying to figure out exactly how much it's going to take to fill up the lanterns.
Yeah, I would expect them to adjust that on the fly if needed, the spawn rate.
And you just gave me a thought that I forgot about. So now when you're grouping we'll be back to the Hound's no AFK rule, because you know
Yeah, I
you
was
don't want
about
to
to
go
get to
AFK and
that.
a Mist Stalker spawn while you're at the front. Yeah.
Yeah, so if they can spawn just while you're standing there, so make sure if you need to use the bathroom, you need to get something to eat, do the laundry, you do that while you're standing in a public area. Don't do that standing in a wilderness, because they can spawn in wilderness areas too. So don't do that. Don't run to your quest. Don't run the Chains of Flame. Stand outside of it, or stand at the beginning. Go to the bathroom, come back, because you may see a soul stone when you come back. So yeah. What else here? Okay, so a couple other things. All lanterns have an ability called Shine the Light with 3 charges per rest, which you can. It's basically a CC clicky. I tried playing around with it a bit, but I wasn't able to really see what it does. But apparently, you use it to hold a Miststalker, I guess. And let's see. It can also remove certain effects Miststalkers apply to the player. And apparently, it's going to be vital. SSG says this is vital for defeating the more difficult Miststalkers. Did you guys play with that at all when you were?
No,
running
when I was doing it, the Mist Stalkers were dying so fast. I don't know if it's due to quest difficulty or what I was doing, but the night ones in the Night Revels, it was like 2 shots and they were dead. So it's like I didn't even know what specific type of Night Stalker or Mist Stalker spawned most of the time. And so it was an interesting just how quickly. The one Fresh Baked Dreams did take a little bit longer, but again, it wasn't anything. I was running that on Elite at the time. So I don't know, that probably harder in Reapers. But the ones that I ran across, they did not survive very long.
Gotcha. I noticed when I remember when I first started in the Borderlands quests on Elite, they really messed me up. So I don't know. They seem to be a lot harder on Elite. I don't know. Maybe I just got unlucky because I only fought a few. So maybe I got unlucky and got the most powerful one. I don't know. But at least solo, it seemed pretty rough on Elite. But they might, that was the first preview, so they might have adjusted that. But okay, what else? So lanterns may stop progressing if the player's character's level doesn't keep up with the lantern's power level as it gains durability. If the player levels up to that threshold, they will resume progress. So basically, you're gonna have to keep leveling your character. You can't farm out your lantern at level 1 to full. You have to. You can only get a certain amount of durability added to your lantern before you have to start playing higher content. So the other thing that they did do is when a Miststalker is killed, only lanterns within 45 meters will benefit. So this is obviously so that you can't pike. So you can't stand at the beginning of the quest and fill up your lantern while someone else does it. So that's a what do you guys think about these things? Do you like these? It seems necessary because if you let people pike, then it really takes away from, I guess, the achievement of the award. So
how far is 45 meters in game?
Yeah, I guess it's hard. I don't know. I mean, I guess if it scales to the level of the character, gosh, I don't know. I mean, imagine that your character's foot is 1 foot and 45, it's 45 of those. So maybe about 45 character lengths away is what I'm guessing, but I don't really know.
Yeah, that was my question too. I'm a big fan of when they have these type of events that less rules are probably better than more. I mean, sure, some people's going to exploit them, but I mean, I guess that's really to avoid some being 3 accounts and having characters sitting at the,
Yeah, it is.
for whatever reason, sitting at the door.
Yeah.
I don't know, but why you would do that. But I mean, but it just seems to me like another way that's going to cause some kind of a bug down the line where people are not getting recognized that they've
Yeah.
slain things because they're of some calculation in the background. But I mean, if it works, it's fine. I
yeah.
don't have a problem with it.
They want players engaging. I guess the whole issue with that is if players can cheese their way to the rewards, it makes the reward seem less satisfying to achieve.
Yeah.
I guess is the reason for that. Anything?
Or maybe I guess somebody could use a second account as bait. I mean, I don't know if they're going to spawn half the time somewhere else. Let them spawn silent. I don't know. That wouldn't do anything for you though if you don't kill them. So I don't know. Anyway, carry on. I'm sorry.
No, you're
I'm
good.
just trying to think of where that could break, but I don't.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time thinking of it.
Well, do you guys have any other thoughts on the event? Do you guys think this is a good alternative to hardcore? Do you think it'll be not as compelling? How do you think the player base is gonna respond to this?
I'm going to give it a couple weeks to see.
Yeah.
Before I make a judgment. I think
I'm the same way. I mean, again, one thing I learned from being on the Players Council years ago was that people play the game in every different way that you could possibly imagine. So there's probably some people excited about this within my circle. It's just kind of another thing that we'll try. And, and like I said, I'm probably going to run it for sure to get the mount because I just like those sorts of things. But we'll see. I mean, I don't know yet how it will play out, but
yeah, I don't either. I'm kind of lukewarm in the event. I don't know that I'm going to have time really to play it because I'm still working on my main character. I actually rolled up a free play-to-play account recently for a YouTube series, so I don't know if I'm going to have time. I originally thought I would hop over there, but I don't know. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to. But okay, well, I guess we'll move on now to the raid.
Well, just one last thought about that. I thought was interesting.
Sure.
I'm always the lore guy, so I mean, this is always whenever I see new content, my thing is how does this fit in with the general long history and lore of DDO? And one thing I thought was kind of cool, if you look into it, is we talk about this leading into future content. Some of those I see that some of those heads of the beast spawn this whisper or whatever that kind of speaks these lines, I guess, similar to the Dark Secrets or whatever in Isle of Dread, but they keep mentioning Seth. And Seth is the deity of the Yuan Ti. I mean, it's actually a lore character. I mean, the overall god of the Yuan Ti. So I started searching. I'll have to go back and do some more research, but I was looking at which D&D modules have and they're really heavy in the Tomb of Annihilation, which is kind of the 5e version based on the old Tomb of Horrors. So if they could somehow wrap this into a Tomb of Annihilation, Tomb of Horrors kind of event, I'm 100% in. But we'll see. I'll have to do a little more research to see where we're at with Seth. But I do like the fact that they've at least using actual lore characters in there in these secrets or whatever these whispers are speaking.
Yeah. Well, anything else, Nomad? Do you have any other thoughts on this before we move on?
No, I'm
okay.
good.
All right. Well, the next thing I want to talk about is the new raid, which is called Threats Old and New. This is the Myth Drenmore raid that dropped, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. Have you guys had a chance to run the raid? I think, Nomad, you said you have. I'm not sure about you, Troy.
Yeah, well, we ran it on Lamania, and that was the most that I've run it since then. But
oh yeah. Have you run on the live servers at all? Either of you?
No.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So for anyone who hasn't run it, the raid basically revolves fighting a Dracolich by getting its phylactery and destroying it. There's a few main mechanics that are of note. There's a damage over time effect that requires the tank to stay on the dragon. Hey, Cozy. She's hopping into the call here. There's a damage over time effect that requires a tank on the dragon to keep it off of the party. So you have a tank who has to keep hitting that dragon in the main room while the rest of the party kind of goes around and does the other stuff that you need to do. There's the other main mechanic of note is there's another damage over time effect that builds, which is kind of like it's kind of like a chain lightning like effect, except it's fire. It's kind of like the boom a little bit from Fall of Truth, but basically you have to, when you get that effect, you need to run away from your party members because being near them means you can spread it. So there's a lot of realizing when you have that damage over time effect and running away from your party. So those are kind of the big mechanics, I would say, in the mechanics in the raid. I mean, what else? There's an optional in the raid that requires 80 of each stat from your party. So 80, someone in your party has to have 80 strength, someone else needs to have 80 intelligence, etc., to get an optional chest and to do another fight. What do you guys think about the raid, I guess, overall, from what you've played so far?
Initially for me, I was super confused. Because I didn't see any of the previews or what anything else was. There was a legendary normal pug that was up, so I joined it. Went into the first room, and then they're like, "Okay, leave the tank with the dragon. Let's go." I'm like, "Okay," and then it was easy to figure out once you understood part of what was going on. But that damage over time, the fire, the spreading fire thing, I just started calling it fire cooties.
Yeah,
Because if you stand
the
far
fire
enough
disease.
away, you stand far enough away from everyone else, it'll go away, and then someone with the fire cooties will come back over and stand next to you, and you get the fire cooties again.
It's hard. It happens at least in the infight. It happens all the time. It's really difficult to consistently keep it off of you. I don't know the best way to do. I mean, I've run the raid now a few times on Lamania and I think 3 times on the live servers at this point. I'm still not sure what the best way is to approach it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Cozy, can you hear us? Okay, I think she's having audio issues, but
Yes, sorry.
oh, you can.
I'm
Okay.
on push to talk now. I'm here and
Yeah, welcome. We just started talking about the new raid.
Perfect timing.
Okay, so for what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was going into the infight. I don't know yet the best way to approach the infight. I don't know if you want to just accept having the dot for a while and have someone stand back and throw heals on the melees up front. I don't, or if we want to continuously run away, I don't really know yet. I still need to play it more and read more about it and see what kind of the more higher level like raid groups are doing. There's some trash that spawns around the infight. You've got like oozes that will take your SP away. You've got fire elementals, earth elementals. There's the red wizards that spawn also in various places of this raid that have the bone guardians, kind of like you find in other Mythranor quests, like Secrets of the Red Wizards, for example. So yeah, there's a variety of things to deal with. I mean, I guess for me right now, I'm finding the raid, and I did a whole YouTube video on this, but I'm finding the raid a little underwhelming. I'm pretty disappointed in it, to be honest. I think one of the big issues that a lot of players are pointing out is the mobs in this raid have way too many hit points. I don't know why the devs did this. My guess is because if they didn't do it, it would have made the raid, make it a 5-minute raid, I guess. But if you're having to add tons of hit points to extend the duration, that's just not exciting raid design. I'm sorry. It's not good. I think most of the community can agree on, not everybody, but I think a lot of the community would like to see the hit points just halved across the board for all these mobs. I'm kind of finding it a slog, and I hope they get away from this, because Legendary Chronoscope was kind of the same way, where it's like, I don't even want to play those raids on higher difficulties, not because it's challenging, and I don't want to deal with the challenge, it just becomes a slog. It's just, you have to cut through so many hit points that I don't know that my regular weekly raid group, if we'll ever do this above normal, just because it's a pain to do it. Even on normal, it's a slog. So I want to see them reduce the hit points. I'm pretty, and I don't want to get too ranty and negative, but it's like, this is what I actually feel. So what am I going to do? But I would have liked to see a better map. I think the map is too simple. It's like a few rooms and some hallways, and that's it. I mean, you compare this to a raid like Curse of Strahd, it's like not even remotely comparable to how interesting the mechanics are, how interesting the map is. Like you're going inside Strahd's castle, you climb up the stairs, you go into this big room with all kinds of doorways, you go into the heart of Strahd. I mean, it's just obviously night and day compared to this raid. So that's just one example. So the map's disappointing, and then the main thing, one of the other big things that's disappointing is, are you kidding me? A Dracolich raid boss again? Now you guys who are more lore guys on Mithranor, isn't there a Hydra or some other kind of big bad we could be fighting instead of another Dracolich? Because we've had four other raids that have Dracoliches in them, something like that. 5.
And you've got the Red Wizards. Why not Saz Tam? I mean, that was the big baddie in the DDO or D&D movie. It's like, I would have thought that would have been rolled into there somewhere, but
yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, that's my whole spiel on the raid. I was really disappointed with it. I think it's a below average raid. But Cozy, do you have any thoughts on the raid since you just hopped in here?
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Okay. Did Nomad and Tavern Tales already answer that one?
No, you get to go first.
No, you're first. Go ahead.
Wow. Okay. All right. I also do not want to get too negative or to, be complaining, but I have some feedback, and it's constructive criticism. Because I basically just ditto with everything Axel said. I feel like a lot of the raids feel epic. Feel different than a quest. And I feel like this one just feels like a quest. And it doesn't feel like we're in Mithranor. Just some kind of basic quest with some basic hallways and some a little bit of no magic zone, dead magic zone. That's it basically. I don't think there's fun strategy. I don't think there's fun puzzles. I don't feel like it's you have to really strategize with 12 different people about stuff, and there's an epic feeling about it. It just feels like you're going to just beat down people and then do the levers and then just fight the bosses. And some people were telling me, oh, but that's all the raids. It's just beating down the boss. But
no, it's not.
It's not.
No.
Right? I'm like, it's not.
No, the raid really needed some different phases with different challenges for the party that isn't just, oh, here's a bunch of hit points to cut through. We need more things in raids other than DPS. Like, I love raids that, like, say, like Legendary Shroud, we have puzzles. We mentioned Curse of Strahd. We have this really interesting party challenge where you have to find the cards in the rooms and light the torches in the correct order. That's the kind of stuff I really wanted to see, rather than just, oh, here's just have DPS and just cut through hit points the whole time. It's just not.
And the Baba Yaga split and the puzzles and the working together, all that stuff's fun.
Yeah.
It just seems to be lacking in here.
Yeah, things that are not just DPS focused. There should be portions of raids that are very DPS focused, but it shouldn't be the whole raid. In my opinion, the best raids are the raids that give the party a variety of different challenges. Some that are DPS, some that are not DPS, some that are more focused on, are you like the roar and skeletons, are you communicating? Those are the kinds of things I want to see in raids more.
Yeah, I was hoping we would see something that was Mithranor-esque.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we got that.
No.
I was hoping we would fight some of the green shambling person that we tried to bring in Seeds of Decay, Moander or something. I thought that would be cool.
I was hoping we would go back in time, kind of like in times long past, to maybe the fall of Mithranor. And that's where the raid would be set.
That would be cool.
That's what I was.
Because there's lots of good history there that could have wrapped in.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, you do go back in time in that quest, times long past. Yeah. So I would have loved to see something like that. Was the Dracolich mentioned anywhere else in Mithranor in the quest? I'm not. Is that a big part of the pen and paper lore for those? Troy, do you know? Because I don't know.
Not really. I mean,
I'm not a lore master.
And and there's, of course, this is a whole other stream, so I won't get into it, but there's huge parts of the myth Draenor history that they've just completely ignored when they added, which I'm curious about. But like I said, there's all sorts of historical events with summon, the summoning of demons, and and the destruction of, and then there's the lore of the red dragon that would fly over, that was good of heart or whatever, over the city to free the prison of those demons. And I mean, I'm just throwing out things out there that any one of those could have been great going in the past and revisiting and making a real lore type event out of. But
I wonder if they just they just ran out of time, didn't have enough budgeted hours to
Yeah.
get this thing done. It just feels really rushed. Maybe that's not the case. That's speculation, but it seems like they just did not spend much time on it.
You know how you're talking about Baba Lysaga, how we split and go do the puzzle and fight scarecrows? Well, split, and there were two sides. One person had the one side is fighting in real time, and then the other half of the group is going back in time. Wouldn't that be cool? Anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be super cool.
No, I love I think raids that split the party are very interesting. Now Baba has its own issues. I think you kind of do the raid twice, but it's the design idea of splitting the party is really nice. I love in Strahd, or not in Strahd, in Shroud, where the puzzle phase where everyone gets split up and everyone has their own puzzle to do. I really like that as well, even if there's some other issues with Shroud, but just that phase, that concept. I would love to see for a future raid something where we split the party and kind of have maybe 4 different groups, have their own puzzle to do, something like that. I like puzzles and raids personally. I know other players that disagree, but I like puzzles and raids, or because it adds a mix up. Like if the raid is just beat down, I mean, there's raids that are fun that are just beat downs, but not every raid should be that way. And definitely if it's going to be an hour-long beatdown, like this one can be, depending on the difficulty you're running, it just gets boring. We need mix-ups in there of different challenges so the raid doesn't get boring. Because if a raid is 45 minutes, but you have a different variety of different challenges there, it's not nearly as boring as if you're doing the same thing the whole time, which you pretty much are in this raid. I mean, okay, you got to find the phylactery and bring the phylactery to the certain spot, but it's DPS the whole time.
It's not exciting.
It's not.
No, is anyone excited to do that raid? No, I'm excited when it's over.
I don't even know. I'll see how the group feels about it, but it seems like we've run it the past few weeks, first thing, and it seems like, at least in my raid party, people are like, people just aren't excited to run it.
Yeah, for me, I think back to like when Epic Chronoscope first came out, and you had the conjoined Abishai Devastator, which on like Epic Elite had like 9 million hit points, and that was a lot back then. And then now we get to a point where on Legendary Normal, the dragon has like 40 million hit points. And it's like, have we gotten to a point where to make things tougher, we're just going to be adding more hit points to it? Hopefully not.
Well, that's not. Yeah. Oops. Oh, sorry, I messed up my visual here. Sorry, guys. You go ahead and keep talking. I'll fix it.
Yeah. So, but I look at it. The easiest way to compare it is to compare it to the last raid we got, which was Fires Over Moorgrave. Right. Same basic concept. Right. You have the one big bad that you have to take care of. But Fires Over Moorgrave, the dungeon design itself, was more interesting with the 3 walkways. The issue with the Vroks, that you have to take care of them or the dots will overwhelm the party very quickly. And then you got the part with the Dretches that are trying to kill people, the fire circle around the Baelor. All of that had more coordination that needed to be done compared to this quest. Because like I said, I went in, I hadn't done it before. They said, okay, the tank's going to take the dragon and we're going to go into this room. We'll go into this room. And then I'm thinking, okay, we just killed the Merilith. You kill the Merilith and then the barriers drop. Or there's a crack in the barrier that you have to jump through to go take care of some other stuff. Initially, someone just said jump through the barrier, so I jumped through the barrier. And I'm like, okay, well, the Merilith should be dead. But then I saw the Merilith was back up. I'm like, okay, well, that's interesting. Um, but there wasn't any real, you know, strategy other than this tank takes care of this one. This tank is going to take care of the Merilith while everyone goes takes care of the trash. You get whatever, and then you come back. And that was it. And I was like, okay, what? And then the guy's sitting there trying to get the phylactery to break, and that took forever. And then everyone's getting the fire cooties, and I'm trying to figure out what the heck is taking so long for this raid to end. Can I hit the stupid thing now? And no, I couldn't.
I think there, I'm not sure. I think one of the dead magic zones was not working correctly, or it was you were able to stand in the corner, I think, of that room, and you wouldn't get the proc that you needed to get the phylactery to break. I think that might have been the issue you ran into. You kind of have to be careful. You have to make sure that whoever has the phylactery is looking at their buff bar, make sure they get that dead magic zone buff, or it won't break. I don't know if that was your issue, but it seemed to be the issue with a lot of parties. I mean, maybe there's another bug I'm not aware of, but that's probably, I would guess, what you ran into there. It shouldn't take that long. It should take like a few minutes, really, because there's one specific attack that Draculich has to do to break the phylactery. It's like a fire breath attack where she goes from left to right or right to left. So, well, any other thoughts, guys, on the raid? I think we kind of covered everything. And, SSG, if you're listening, we don't mean to be too negative, but like, we're just gonna be honest here. We're not gonna sugarcoat it. Like, it's a disappointment. I think you guys can do better. I've seen what you guys have done in the past with other raids, and I know you can do a better raid than this. So, any other thing you guys want to add before we move on to Night Revels?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, constructive criticism is good because it's, feedback and just saying, like, we care, and that, I appreciate new stuff, right? New content and them trying to do new things, right? I always appreciate that. But I feel like, I hope that they listen to what people want and feedback and learn from these things, like how the Illithid invasion event was not fun for a lot of people. Yeah, and so it was a disappointment because a lot of people did not see any lithids, and so I was really disappointed. I never saw any, and then I was surprised that they stayed with the same exact raid after all the feedback that gave them after the Lamania thing. Like, I feel like Axel's review was really good and Axel's feedback was really good, and then when the raid did drop, not just the Lamania, and we did it. I was surprised, honestly, that it was the same thing. It was the same. Nothing had been changed. I was surprised. So yeah, I think, I hope that listen to some criticism, some constructive criticism and feedback in the future, because I just feel like no one is going to want to do this raid.
I think with the Lamania, one thing I would love to see them do is, and I mentioned this on the forums, but I would love to see the devs earlier in the development cycle, maybe put out there, okay, hey, this is what we're thinking about doing for the raid. What do you think about it? What would you like to see in a raid? And take community feedback, because it seems like by the time it hits Lamania, there's no time to change any of the core aspects of the raid. Yeah, they can do bug fixes. Yeah, they can do some minor tweaks. But as far as like completely upending the core mechanics of the raid, they're not going to do that. By the time it hits Lamania, it's too late. Maybe the Players Council are getting earlier feedback. I don't know, because I'm not in the Players Council. But yeah, I would love to see some earlier input from players in the process. And it would have been a little better because we only got one raid with this expansion. It would have been, I think, more acceptable if there were two raids. But considering it's the only raid in a full expansion, so this is like the peak. This is as good as it gets, right? Because this is the peak of their development. Like, this is not a free play raid. This is not an adventure pack. This is not a mini expansion. This is a full expansion. So this is supposed to be like the peak of the raid development. It just makes me a little concerned going forward that we're not going to get bigger raids if this is what they're going to do for a full expansion. But I don't know. Maybe I'm being too negative about that. But anything else
maybe some good more feedback for SSG would be, maybe this would be a great opportunity to drop a surprise second raid for Mythra.
Mm-hmm. That would be, even if it's really short.
What do they say? Hint. Know what I mean?
That would make this one make the community much happier about this raid. Even if it's a short raid, a 5 or more grave, a VOD something, even if it's a short, simple raid, it would definitely take the edge off. But okay, guys, anything else? And we'll move on to Night Revels if not.
Well, I think what everyone summed up and talked about, like, I really liked what everyone said about the raid. I feel like Nomad summed up the difference between the new Mythdraenor raid and then another similar one with Fire and Mortgrave. And then I feel like I agree. I'd like a more fun raid with more objectives or more whatever. And instead of what were you saying? Like, and I mean, we could get rid of like a couple quests or something.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I would have much rather had, what do we have, 14 quests in Mythdraenor? I would have much rather had 12 quests and like a raid on the level of like Curse of Strahd or, or skeletons instead of this, personally.
Me too. Yep, that's what I think too. I haven't seen the difference between the other expansions to know what to compare it to. So I don't really know on that how to answer that one.
Like the expansion overall, or how the raid compares to other expansion raids?
Yeah, you were saying you were worried about the expansions coming
I was
out?
a little worried about future expansions because, back in the day, like we had Ravenloft, we got 2 raids that came out on release day. We got, Sharn had 2 raids. And then at some point it went to, okay, we're going to give you 2 raids, but get one now, one later. And then it went to, okay, you're only going to get 1 raid and you're not going to get it till later. And now we're to the point where, okay, full expansion, you're only going to get 1 raid. It's going to be a short, small scope raid, and you're going to get it later. And it's like, this is a trend here. Like, are we going to get to a point? Are we ever going to get 2 raids in expansion again? Are we going to get like 2 raids that are bigger scope raids? Are we going to even get 1 raid to full expansion again? That's like a big scope raid. And when I mean scope, I mean like multiple phases, interesting in boss, not just a bunch of hit points to chew through. I'm just a little concerned. They're really cutting back on how much time they're putting into raid development. Because for me, raiding is my favorite thing to do in DDO period. So it's concerning.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Please.
To be fair, they have lost a few devs, right? With Tonquin leaving, that leaves only 2 system devs that they have now. So they got Torque and Steelstar are doing all that work. So I get it. I understand it's a lackluster raid, and plus all the other stuff that they got going on, the Lanterns event and getting ready for the 64-bit stuff and whatever else. But yeah, I agree. The raid leaves something to be desired. But to be fair, they're just like most other people. There's a shortage of people who are actually being able to work on all this stuff.
And while I totally get that, and again, sorry, SSG, the price remained the same. So there's the big difference to me is, we keep promising the same but delivering less, and that's what's concerning to me. So
yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll move on to Night Revels now. Unless there's something else. Do you have something else, Cozy?
I just want to say I hear the concerns, and I agree. That is a good concern to be concerned about. I think you guys aren't alone in those concerns. Price and what they're bringing. And I dropped all my almonds, so now I'm ready to move on.
Okay. Well, that's a good segue because we're getting into Night Revels where you can collect almonds.
So spooky almonds, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. Let's get to Night Revels now. So Night Revels is now going through, I think, November 1st. They've been talking about it, possibly extending it because of some of the lag issues. But for anyone who doesn't know, Night Revels is the biggest event DDO does in terms of seasonal events. It's Halloween themed. You go into House Jarasco, into Dalera's graveyard. You can run a basic graveyard quest to collect keys. There's something like, I think, 8 Halloweenized versions of other quests in the game that are basically shortened versions where you can run those to collect ingredients. And then there's also a bigger, what do you call it? The spectral is it spectral dragon? I think it is. Raid. It's kind of like, because I think it originally was a raid like way back in the day. It's now a challenge quest. But yeah, it was a raid back in the day. But you fight a big dragon, and that's where you get your spectral dragon scales. But yeah, there's a variety of challenges you can run there. and earn rewards. You run the quests, you get ingredients, you turn them in for rewards. This year, they did have a new dungeon. So every once in a while, they will run a new dungeon. And the one this year is Shop Till You Drop, which is one of the, what is it? I think Sharn Syndicate quests that's been Halloweenized. It's the one, I forget the name of it, but it's the one that's in the bank in the marketplace.
Storm Reaver's Fresco.
Storm Reaver's
Fresco,
Fresco.
yep.
Thank you. But they made that kind of a Halloweenized version of it. Do you guys have any thoughts on Shop Till You Drop? Do you think it's a good ad?
I thought it was fun,
Yeah.
except trying to find that second doll.
Yeah. So in that dungeon, for anyone listening, you have to find 2 dolls, and I think they can have a variety of locations. I think there's some randomization there. Yeah, there definitely is, because sometimes the one doll can be on the floor. Sometimes it can be in the first platform on the platforming section. I don't know about any other where the other locations are, but there's definitely a few different locations now that I think about it. And but yeah, find some dolls and go to the end, kill an end boss. You do have the different deposit boxes you can open that have collectibles in there. I think it's in the same one every time, but there is one thing you need to find that's in one of those collectible boxes.
Right.
There's also an optional platforming section in the first room where you can jump around to the top and get an extra chest. It's just a junk chest, though, as far as I know. There's not really. It's not required to get 5 stars. Yeah, it's not required to get 5 stars. So if you don't like platforming, you don't have to do it. It's just a totally optional thing. It doesn't hurt your number of ingredients you get or anything like that. Yeah, go ahead.
But I did hear, isn't there there's a chance for one of the dolls to be up on that chandelier, though?
There is, but it's on the very first chandelier, so you literally just have to. It's not high up. It's the first part of it, so you just have to jump
I've
on.
never seen it there, but I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, you jump on one skull, then jump on the first chandelier, and that's where it is. At least from what I've run, I've not seen it any higher on the platforming section, so you don't have to go all the way to the top or anything ever. Let's see. Anything else you guys want to say on the new dungeon? I know it's short, so there's not too much to say.
Why does that quest drop almonds? I mean, it's
got to be a bug.
There's 3 of them that drop the almonds, and 1 of them that drops caramels, and it drops me crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a bug. So it's supposed to be 2 every year. It's been 2 quests. We'll include each ingredient. So there'll be 2 quests that drop almonds, 2 that drop caramels, 2 that drop apples, etc. But this year, 3 of them drop almonds, I think, and only 1, which is the Lord's March quest, drops caramel. So you have to run the Lord's March one to get caramels. Now there is another exception where the Spectral Dragon challenge is the only one that drops Spectral Dragon scales, but that's got to be a bug. I'm sure they meant it to drop caramels, and they messed it up.
And I would be remiss if I was saying they drop more almonds than cozy.
Oh man.
There you go.
Oh yeah, I hope they do. That was a bag of now really gross carpet almonds.
Just wash them off; they'll be fine. Well, I guess moving on from there, there's some new rewards this year, which is there's a green mount, which is the same thing as the red and the teal mount. It's just green. You can get that. There's a Violet Harvest Hunter's cosmetic hat, Violet Defender of the Harvest cosmetic armor, Violet Cloak of the Autumnal Feathers, which is a cosmetic cloak. There's a Ghostly Glamored Weapon aura, and there's an orb that's a cosmetic, it's like a jack-o'-lantern orb, and it lights up when Night Revels is going, and then apparently it's going to not be lit up when Night Revels is not going. So it lights up depending on if it's Halloween or not, which is kind of interesting. But are you guys interested in any of the new rewards? I know personally I'm going after the mount. I'm almost there. I just need to run the Spectral Dragon one probably about, I don't know, 7 more times or something. I haven't really worked on those ingredients yet, but I don't know if I'll go for any of the other stuff. I think the orb's really cool, but I just don't play builds that use orbs much, so I probably won't go with. I mainly play melee, so I probably won't go for that. I thought the cosmetics looked cool, though. I don't know if I'll go for any of them, but I thought they looked cool. You guys have any thoughts on the rewards?
I love the orb. The orb looks great.
Yeah.
The only thing is there's a weird kind of a a graphics bug where it looks like fire shooting out your back the whole time you're running with it. But I mean, but it's when you see it's head on, it looks great. I love it. And I'm also I had already mentioned this before. I'm a mount collector, so I'll definitely get the mount. But one thing that I always point out on my stream is that if somebody does nothing with this, you pick up those chocolates in chests, and you can trade those for death ward potions and restoration potions, which are awesome to have on characters that can't cast those spells. I mean, the death ward lasts for 10 minutes, and it's not a whole lot of chocolates. So I mean, it's turn those in if you do nothing else.
Also, if you are a free-to-play player and you don't have a mount, this is your chance. I think the teal mount is still really cheap. The other two are higher priced, but go in there and get you a mount, because this is the only opportunity as a free-to-play player. It's this and if you miss the Year of the Dragon giveaway, where they did give away a free dragon mount, this is your only opportunity during the year, I believe. Let me think about it. Yeah, in terms of free-to-play content, this is the only chance you have to get a mount. So go do it now if you haven't got one. And the other thing I wanted to mention, the candies, they did buff those from last year, because they changed them last year, and then last year they were definitely 2 weeks, so they buffed them. So the duration of the candies is now 40 seconds instead of 20 seconds. So those might be worth going after now. I'm not a huge fan of this. Well, I don't know. I might get the apple now, but I guess it's worth it, but it's just another thing to click, and it does interrupt your attack animation. At least it did last year, unless they've changed it. So it does interrupt your DPS a little bit, but I might go for the apple. They tend to be pretty cheap. Anything else you guys are going after? You guys going after any of the cosmetic hats or armors or cloaks or anything? No?
I got my mount, so that's done. I think the only other thing I'll probably grab is the festive augments.
Yeah. So I usually normally do drop whatever I can to get these cosmetics. But the next event starts Wednesday, and I want to start doing that too. And I haven't done enough Night Revel stuff. So, and I want the hardcore awards. So
get the grinding.
I wonder if Night Revels is going to be turned on Cormyr.
I wonder. That'd be fun. And I'm glad that they have shop till you drop as a different type of quest than all the other ones, because you have a bunch of jumping stuff. But at the same time, I suck at jumping. So I'm like,
Yeah, well, you don't have to do any jumping at all. It's just for a junk chest. Unless you have to do 1 or 2 jumps if the doll appears on the first chandelier there. But so I guess technically you do sometimes.
I think they were listening to you, Axel,
maybe.
About wanting more platforming.
I know everyone. I say this, and every time the YouTube comments is like, "What are you doing, Axel?" I'm like, "Yes, I enjoy platforming. I'm sorry, I do." And in DDO, I'm sorry. Yes, there's lag, but I'm sorry. People aren't gonna like that I say this, but sometimes people will scapegoat lag and say, "Oh my gosh, you can't have platforming in DDO at all because of lag." And I'm like, okay, occasionally it will knock you off, but you can still have platforming. I still love it. I do think they should keep it optional, as they did here. So if you guys don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. But I think it should be. I think platforming is an interesting part of the game, and it does add a good mix-up so that not every quest is just run down hallway, kill mobs, go to next room, kill mobs. But that's just me. Of course, I've got an NES behind me. I play super hard NES platformers and all kinds of other stuff. So that's just me. I just like platforming, but whatever. I know it's not a popular stance, but whatever.
Do you guys like that they switched it from the quest it was previously?
Haberdashed is always the victim.
Yeah,
it's always the victim.
I heard some people complain about that. Yeah, Haberdash,
and it's the shortest of all of them.
Yep,
of all the quests. So
some players were griping a bit because of that. I know they liked how short Haberdash is, but
okay,
yeah.
And here's where I lose viewers, but I missed the Coalescence Chamber one. I loved that one. That was very interesting.
So, shameless plug. In my interview with Tolero, we talked about Resurrection Chamber. And she said that there's some things with it that they need to get straightened out. They didn't quite like how it was playing. and not just that, coalescence chamber as well. And so it's on their list of things to work on. And it'll probably get some revisions, but it's not quite exactly where they want it yet to bring it back. So
Yeah. It's been a few years, hasn't it? Wholly forgot
It
about
has.
that one. It's been, I don't know how
I
many years,
love
but
it.
yeah, it's been a few years. I
When-
vaguely
2020
Because I
remember.
have to say, I never run it, but I'm one of these crazy people that always liked Coal Chamber too. So
Yeah. Huh. Well, anything else you guys want to say on Night Revels? I have one other thing that I want to mention before we wrap it up here. Okay, well, the last thing is some changes they announced this week to repeaters and dual crossbows. So basically, I will link below in the description the forum thread where this is all explained in detail by the devs on the Lamania forums. But essentially, what they're doing is they are attempting to reduce the server load that they're saying these repeaters and dual crossbow builds add. So what they're doing is they're attempting to keep the DPS the same, but what they are doing is slowing them down, the animations, the number of hits per second, but they are buffing the DPS with changes to double shot and other things. So the goal is to not affect your DPS, just reduce the number of the speed of attacks so that the servers don't lag out as much, essentially. That's the kind of the TLDR on the change. Do you guys have any? I know I don't play. I play some casters. I play a lot of melees, but I don't really play. And it's been forever since I've really played a repeater or a crossbow build. So do any of you all play those type of builds? And have you gotten a chance to test these out? I think Nomad, you did.
yeah, so I moved my level 33 Artie over. It's not an optimal end game build at all. I think I was sitting at 42% double shot and like 20 imbue dice on that tune. And it's an inquisitive build. Destinies, I'm in Shirati's, Fate Singer, and Shadow Dancer. A lot of it was I changed it when the AoE shots came out for ranged and wanted to focus on those. My experience when I moved it over was I was seeing a lot more dry firing, which has always been a part of playing a ranged build. You shoot and some of your stuff just doesn't register. But it seemed a lot more noticeable. And it seemed like for me specifically, it was taking more time to kill mobs. After some discussion with folks on the Discord, somebody pointed out that at endgame, if you got one of these higher powered, geared out tunes that takes advantage of that higher attack speed, even though they're reducing the attack speed and raising the damage based upon the double shot, at cap with one of those types of tunes, it's going to be a net increase in damage for those types of tunes. But for someone like my build, which is suboptimal, it's probably going to be a net decrease to my DPS, just because I don't have as much double shot and I can't take advantage of that DPS increase to the double shot as much as the other people can. And so by losing that attack speed, someone mentioned that I am probably seeing more dry fires because I'm not getting as many shots over a specific amount of time that so it's not like covering over those dry fires now, right? Because I'm not seeing as many procs as I did before. And that makes a lot of sense to me, especially for a tune like that. So that was my experience. It was just kind of, it seemed like it took longer to kill things. The attack speed is definitely slower and noticeable. And I think for some, they may be fine with the DPS that they're seeing. But at least for my build, I was not happy with what I was seeing overall. So that's kind of was my takeaway from it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I know clearly their intention is not to reduce DPS. So I hope, you and other players continue to give that feedback and they can adjust. I'm sure they will. But I guess it's a rough spot if some builds are seeing a benefit, but you are not. It is going to depend on how you build your character and how optimized you are. And
Was
how?
this for the new server only?
No, this is for everything,
This is for
the whole
update.
game.
This is supposed to
Update
come out in
70.
update 70.
Yeah.
But one of the things was that I know that they're looking at is at lower levels, it's harder to get an increase in double shot. So if you're playing a repeater build in heroic levels, how much worse is it going to feel to play? Because you don't have that higher attack speed and stuff, and your double shot isn't as good, right? So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out at the heroic level versus at the epic or legendary level, in terms of, is it going to feel good? Because when I play, I'm not really worried too much about the numbers. I'm not a number cruncher when it comes to DDO. I build something and I play it, and if it feels good, then I'm happy with it. Even if my build's suboptimal, as long as it feels good to me when I'm playing it, I'm good, right? But this felt definitely worse than what I was playing.
Okay. Yeah, I did not get a chance to go in last preview to test it, and I'm just not knowledgeable with these type of builds, so I don't know if I have a lot to add really. But Troy, do you or Cozy have anything to say about it?
I mean, I do play range builds, but my only one is a great crossbow build, so it doesn't really impact me. I have played several Inquisitors, but I don't have any presently. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it works. But I mean, I don't use the repeaters, so the fusilade's the only change that would affect me if it ends up affecting other bows. So.
I just hope it's still fun. I mean, attacking fast is fun. That's one thing I noticed with because I played a bear druid recently, and I took patience, the new melee feat, where it slows you down, but you get extra crit multiplier. And on paper, it made my character better, being a two-handed fighting character. I did the math, and yeah, it was a buff, but it kind of felt. I didn't like how it felt because it just made my character feel slow and sluggish, like I was stuck in mud. So I hope it feels okay for the range players, because regardless of what the math is, and if it's better for your DPS, I just hope it still feels good to play and feels fun, because attacking fast is fun, whether you're playing melee or ranged or caster. It's just fun to attack fast, and it's just I don't know. I hope it's if they got to do it, they got to do it, but it's unfortunate that it could impact the feel of the game for some players. So I guess that's all I really have to say about it. Maybe it's something.
I hope that they. I hope that they could fix it somehow, or make sure that everyone is equally getting what they were getting before. Because I was talking to Severlin last night, and he was saying that like no one wants to feel less good and less fast. He's like, it just doesn't feel good. So they don't. I know he said he doesn't want to do that. They don't like doing that stuff, and they know that players don't like it. So I hope they really make sure that it doesn't mess up for a lot of people, because I've seen people leave the game because of double shot. My guild leader, double shot thing they did like a couple of years ago. They did come back after like a year or something, but because they loved bow builds so much, and they loved certain stuff, and they had like, hey, I'm not getting this mathematically whatever, but I heard people say, no, you are getting it, and there was lots of back and forth of, are you getting the good damage numbers or not, and the math and stuff. And so I hope that not I hope that they make it so that everyone still feels good. I hope that they can do what they can.
Yeah, I wonder too if whenever Cormyr comes out and we get more 64-bit servers, if they can at that point introduce more attack speed back into the game.
Yes.
That would be maybe that's a long-term thing. Maybe that's a long-term thing.
Yeah, I think so, because I think they should, after they get that set up, like say they after the hardcore and hardcore VIP server, then the server after that, the mega server. Hopefully that can open up a whole avenue of fast stuff, and they won't even have to worry about that stuff, and you'll be able to have fun with your repeater builds and stuff. Lots of fun. And it won't affect it at all. Like that won't even be a thought.
My devil's advocate problem, I suspect this came out of the 64-bit build. Because, it's one of the
Really?
things that, I think Tolero talked about this, but when you look at the 64-bit server, and I know this was from software troubleshooting in the first place, is that once you remove the hardware component of is the system overstressed, you get lots of good data on what the actual end components of the software is doing. And my guess is that the repeater stuff stood out like a sore thumb as a source of lag in the tests, and I bet that's why it's now getting attention.
Wait, what
That's my
did?
guess. Do I know?
You're thinking the repeater stuff is what stuck out?
Yeah, I think we'll see more stuff like that too. That's going to come focused about. Well, now we're seeing this, so I think it's all good long term. But I don't know that they're going to. They may have new cool ways to fix it going forward, but I mean, I think we're going to see more of this instead of less of it with 64-bit.
Okay.
Well, one thing that did come out of the testing was the identification of burning ambitions for alchemists and the visual effects for the spell or for that ability was causing performance issues. And that was something that they discovered on Cormyr. Because I know one of the guys on the Discord was specifically working with Steel Star saying, I get lag when I do this. And there's like this many mobs. And they looked at the numbers and everything, and it did indicate that there was lag because of that. So that's actually going to should be in the update 70 patch notes as well when it comes out with regards to some of the fixes.
Yeah, I want to ask around more and see more what people are saying with their repeater and crossbow stuff, because I've been trying to get some info because I wasn't able to test it out this week.
Yeah, I know a few players that play pretty much exclusively those type of builds, so I need to ask them whenever this hits the live service what they think. Two I play with a lot I can think of right now. But all right, guys, anything else you want to say on crossbow changes, repeater stuff before we wrap up? Is there anything that you guys want to bring up that we talked about before that you forgot to mention? Is there anything in Nomad, or I don't know if you're streaming Cozy, but your all's chats? Unfortunately, I'm having internet issues right now, so my stream's kind of messed up at the moment, so I don't have chat working or anything, or anyone in chat. So
Is it because you're doing Discord? And
no,
having so many
I've
cameras?
had so many issues. The past month, I've had issues with my internet connection, and I just had my ISP out here to try and fix it this week, but it seems like they need to do more work.
Do you have Comcast?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have Optimum.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you guys already talk about the Myth Stalkers and all that?
Yeah, we went through all that.
Okay.
Is there anything you
Cool.
wanted to say on it?
I'm curious what the general consensus was from you guys.
What? Just about the event in general? I'm pretty
Mechanics,
lukewarm
but
on
meh.
it. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't really still feel strongly one way or the other. I don't know if I'll have time personally to jump over there and participate.
Same.
I think the Sabertooth mount looks awesome though. I will say it looks really cool. That's the one thing I do want.
I think for Troy and I, we're gonna treat it as hardcore. We're gonna probably play him as we would normally hardcore and just kind of go from there. I need a couple weeks of playing it before I have a real definite opinion on it.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we'll wrap things up then. That's all I have in my notes. So why don't you guys go around and just plug your stuff? Cozy, you want to start? Let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, sure. And I'm excited about the Myth Stalker event. I liked the tests. So I'm excited. But I do understand the frustration about it not being free to play. But I know talking with Severlin that they're trying to do something to mitigate because it can't handle, they need to do like a soft open. Yeah. And so they don't want it to crash. So I understand they need to do something to mitigate it, but I'm not VIP, so I'm struggling because I'm sad because I'm like, oh, I'm not VIP, but I want to play it. So anyways, I'm gonna try and get VIP Wednesday to do it because I love hardcore and I want to be there and see how it is because I think it was really fun with the mists and all that. I do think it would be cool if the Miststalkers were a little bit bigger in size, though. But I think I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm Cozy Bean. If you guys can find me at twitch.tv/cozybean or my YouTube channel, and I do lots of fun stuff. And yeah, I play let's see, on a lot of servers, and I play lots of DDO content, and um, I've got a cool green screen video, a new green screen video coming Monday night on DDO stream that it will debut. So I'm excited about that. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah,
And I'm
sure thing.
excited. And everyone here, Tavern and Axel and Nomad are great. Go check them out. They're really smart and knowledgeable players. I've been playing for a long time. Go check out their streams. They're a good time, good conversation, and good fonts of knowledge.
All right, Nomad, you want to go next?
Sure. You can catch me on my own Twitch channel at twitch.tv/nomaddog. As usually Wednesdays and Friday nights, starting at 6:30 p.m. Hawaii time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and 12:30 a.m. 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 a.m. Eastern. If you're in other parts of the world, I'll let you guys do the math. That's already too much math for me. And you guys can also catch me here on DDO stream every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Last couple weeks, I've been doing kind of these talking head things. Last week, it was my my talk with Tolero about Night Revels and Maybar. You could check that video out on my YouTube channel. It's just at Nomad Dog Gaming. And other than that, usually on DDO stream, we're taking a look at the updates to the game since it went free to play in 2009. We're on update 37, so next time I'm streaming this, we'll be working on the second part of Mists of Ravenloft. So look forward to that. And Axel, thank you for having me this week.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming. Troy, we go last?
Kind of a mini milestone. This Tuesday night on DDO stream will be the 75th trivia show that we have done on Trivia Tuesday. So again, not playing a blowout. I'll save that for the 100th one. But yeah, 75th trivia, and we need somebody to come knock off Brackett if you're out there. He is now a 4-week champion in a row. So been lots of folks hit close, but nobody has knocked him off that seat yet. So Cozy, it might be your time to come back and and win trivia. So
In what day and time is your trivia? Troy,
it is
for people.
It is at 9 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays. Again, I don't know where that translates. When I do the show, I generally start several hours earlier, and I put a timer up on top of the screen, so regardless of what part of the world when it starts. And then I'll be back on my channel, tonight at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, and that's every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
And I know for trivia night,
Monday. Sorry, I lied about that. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Anyway,
I know for
I'm
your
there.
DDO trivia night too, you do you give away points and stuff too, point codes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
everyone
we
should
give away
check out
airport codes.
check out the stream, participate in some DDO trivia, and win some free points. I guess for me, guys, anyone watching, you guys know me, but I'll link below in the description, my link tree if you want to check me out on Twitch and all my other things. And I want to say thank you because I've been meaning to do this, and I should have been doing this for other podcasts. I want to say thank you to my 2 Patreon supporters, Brian Rasmussen and Brent Erickson. So thank you guys. You're awesome. I think that's all we have. Thank you all for coming, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, guys.
Right.
Later.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks. Take care. See ya.